My name's Kate and I'm the founder of She Lion Bags. We make bags for working women with designated compartments to carry everything that you might need to carry. As a lawyer, I could not find a bag that was fun but really strong and had compartments for everything that I needed so that you didn't go into a meeting and have that Mary Poppins moment where you take everything out of your bag to find the one thing that you need. My bags are fiercely elegant. They definitely make a statement. They're not for the shy lady, but they will make you feel really empowered. They're tools that help you walk fearlessly and conquer your day. Wow, that's hard to give you a short history. I'm actually in my 6th year of doing this. This is the first year I've been doing it without doing 3 days as a lawyer. I've had 2 kids along the way. Started in 2015 when I couldn't find a handbag that suited my needs as a working woman. I wanted something that matched my outfit, that wasn't conservative, that didn't mean that I'd have multiple bags, that was like beautiful quality, and that was also really functional. And marrying fashion and function wasn't something that was really readily available on the market. So that's how She Lion was born. We were going really well in 2019 and I had my 2nd child in December. Just ordered a whole lot of product ready to really grow the business in 2020, and then COVID happened and like the carpet was just completely pulled out from underneath me. 40% loss plus in sales, 30% increase in freight and logistics and materials. At home in lockdown with a newborn and a very active 3-year-old, 2 little boys. My husband is a builder, so he could still work, so he was considered an essential worker. So I really was at home by myself with 2 kids for a lot of the time trying to run the business. I have an incredibly supportive customer base of amazing women, and so there were a lot of people that continued to buy my product even though they really didn't need it. And I was dismayed also by the fact that there were so many other Australian businesses that were affected by COVID as well, small businesses, that I really wanted to do something ideally that could collect as many people in a Melbourne or Australian supply chain that I could, that would feed multiple businesses in the process. I was having a flat day and I have this shirt that says superhero on it. It's like a wind cheater, and I had put it on, sleep deprived, my newborn had hardcore reflux, not beautiful at home, you know, you're covered in milk, vomit and God knows what else, and I was like, I'm gonna put on this top because it's gonna make me feel good. Put a photo up on Instagram just saying, you know, women are superheroes, we can do this, you know, we're gonna get through it. Had so many responses about, you should make something that says walk fearlessly. And I was like, gosh, that's a really great idea. And maybe this is a product I could create in Melbourne. So getting really pumped up, I, tried to find a manufacturer in Melbourne because I had actually worked for a big Melbourne-based fashion label when I was at uni, and I knew that they had used this clothing manufacturer that was based in Brunswick. So just cold called the factory and was super pumped up about this idea and was telling the guy, expecting it to be able to all come together in like 3 months. He was unbelievable. He literally opened his whole book of contacts to me, helping out with finding a pattern maker, a grader, a wash house, a fabric miller, a cotton farmer, a cotton weaver, the industrial wash house, as well as the dye house. I already had a Melbourne-based graphic designer, I had a Melbourne-based marketing person. He helped pull all of those threads together that I wanted to find to make sure it truly was Melbourne-based, because it is actually surprisingly quite hard to find all of those pieces in Melbourne because so much is produced offshore these days. Anyway, I had this fantastic phone call with him, sent him a big bunch of flowers from Varzek because I was just blown away that he had given me all of his contacts. And then called I think one of the only Melbourne-based fabric cotton knitting mills, and spoke to another man there who was equally super supportive and gave me so much assistance and kept answering my questions, which I'm sure were incredibly basic, like the fact that I didn't realise grey marl was not a colour that you would dye. It's actually made from 2 different threads that you sew together, and prepare for garment dye is like a way that you treat a top before you want to dye it. That there's shrinkage in cotton, that you have to wash things before you sell them. Like, just the list of the learning curve was exponential. I could not tell you how many mistakes and money I would have lost if these people hadn't spent the time giving me their insight.
Was there anything that you weren't expecting in the production of the sweatshirts?
I had no idea that there were that many processes involved with making a sweatshirt. It's very easy to buy a sweatshirt from multiple businesses and just put a slogan on the front and sell them, and we could have done that really quickly, but I really wanted to stay true to the She-Lion essence, which is all about having the courage to go your own way and really pushing through adversity to walk fearlessly to reach your goal. And this was one of those things during COVID in lockdown with 2 kids and an entirely new product category. The pattern maker went above and beyond too. We had multiple photos. She was like telling me how to measure things. I had no idea. And I've got photos with like my 1-year-old and my 3-year-old trying to help me measure these tops. And she's like telling me, no, you got to measure from this seam and not this seam. Multiple calls and emails with an industrial dye house. I didn't even know that was a thing. Shrinkage factor in 100% cotton can range from 5 to 10%, and the rib is different to the fleece. So that all has to be tested, and a sample wash is different from a normal, like a bulk run. And then there's all these different washes as well. I didn't know that either. There's soft wash, there's an enzyme wash, and all of these things create an entirely different look. As I said earlier, I thought I could just buy white fabric and then dye it grey marl, which is hilarious, and they would have thought I was so stupid because actually grey marl is 2 different threads that are woven together by the fabric maker at the outset.
Was there any point where you thought you wouldn't be able to do it all in Melbourne or in Australia, and then how did you kind of deal with that?
A lot of times. The 2 pattern makers I called were at capacity because everybody wanted to make loungewear at the time. So I remembered just randomly that my husband's brother's best friend's wife was a pattern maker, and she ended up helping me out, and she's been hugely integral in like shaping the way everything worked. But multiple lockdowns stopped production various times. I was expecting to be able to go from like design to, online sales in 3 to 4 months, which was just totally naive. We have pulled it together in around 10 months, but with multiple other things that have happened at home from a personal front, we haven't actually launched until 12 months. Apparently that's still really impressive when you talk to people about sourcing entirely in Melbourne, right down to the poly bags that are recycled poly bags are actually manufactured in Melbourne. The woven labels are manufactured in Melbourne. Everything has been printed in Melbourne. The cotton itself is grown here and then woven and knitted here, which is also not something that happens all the time, and it's obviously quite expensive to do that. But I think an important piece of that is you are helping to pay the wage of so many people. And I think this journey has taught me that we had an amazing manufacturing industry in Melbourne, in Australia, 20, 30 years ago, and it's just dwindled to a really scary level. And COVID has sort of woken that up and made people realise that, we need to be less reliant on overseas and more self-sufficient here. And there's just so much opportunity to create jobs and to bring that all back and to really grow a manufacturing industry again. And there's so many amazing artisans and makers here that it would be great to leverage. I wanted it to be, actually I can, even though going into it, I actually did not know whether I could. I was very keen to make sure that it happened, and I'm super proud of the fact that it's come together with more than 20 businesses involved that are each receiving money from the sale of the tops in the supply chain.
How important is it to be able to show the quality and have that represented from the Australian manufacturing industry?
Massively, I think really important to be able to show that. More so because there are so many jobs that can be created from doing that. You are actually paying all these different people. So many more people are involved in the creation of something that seems as simple as a wind cheater than I realised. Unless you're in the fashion industry, I don't think you have any idea that there are that many processes, or even, I suppose, the fact that so many of those processes are not seen because they happen overseas and it's all coordinated for you, and you just sort of see the final touch pieces that you can add here. But yeah, there are so many processes involved, from actually sourcing the cotton, but knitting the cotton, dyeing it the right colour, getting the patterns made, getting the grading done, washing the fabric, getting the care labels made, getting the main labels made, getting the barcodes printed, getting the thank you cards made, the poly bag manufacturing, making sure that's recycled, sustainable and based in Melbourne, and then all the peripheral things like the Melbourne Distribution Centre, the Melbourne marketing person, the Melbourne designer, the Melbourne infographic artist that puts together an amazing story so you can see it all visually, the Melbourne PR team, everything. I wanted something that was going to make people feel strong and feel good in themselves and know that anything was possible. I played around with lots of different quotes, but settled on actually I can. I think that's really strong and it's applicable, to everybody, and it means that you can do it. You just have to keep pushing, and anything is possible if you set your mind to it. You can. Even if you think you can't, you absolutely can. Support local though. It was about mirroring the process behind the jumpers and really opening people's eyes and lifting the veil for people who aren't in the fashion industry to understand Melbourne manufacturing, where it has been, where it is now, and possibly, how we can move it forward to where it was before and be less reliant on overseas manufacturing. Support local is the story of the journey, coupled with actually I can. None of this would have been possible without all of the makers that were involved, but all of the makers benefit from the sales of these jumpers. The possibilities are endless, I think, now that I've been able to learn what I've learnt in the last 12 months. The plan going forward for sure is absolutely to have a Melbourne supply chain and a Melbourne product line that is integrally part of Sheline, and empowering sweatshirts is fantastic product line to have. Yeah, I wouldn't close the door to other clothing, but we're focusing on this product line for the time being, and then also having the handbag stream as well.
Do you think it will be something that a lot of other companies will also be looking towards, especially with things like you said, the cost of shipping or the those additional things that have changed since COVID?
I hope so. I think it's a loaded question, to be honest, because I feel like it does cost more. So like the actual customer base would need to be trained to understand that, because it is so accessible to be able to buy something at even half the price that to an untrained eye potentially doesn't look as different. It's also the university question. It's about the fact that, everybody does want to be a designer, and that we need to be able to bring more people into the trade of being able to work in the knitting mills and being able to work in the manufacturing industry and the garment game, so that there are more people that are actually sewing and producing and pattern making here. We have an amazing bank of people here that are doing that, but it's more the succession plan and encouraging younger people to come into that workflow so that it continues, and then it's accessible to businesses. To be a really good designer, you actually have to learn all of the construction side of things and maybe understand more about how the fabric is made.
How does it make you feel having gone through all of this?
Makes me feel emotional being asked that question. I feel like none of this would have been possible if I didn't walk the values of the business. I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional because my son had been really unwell most of COVID, and then really recently in and out of hospital. And I think I didn't realise how resilient I am until I tried to run a business with 2 kids and then have a sick child. The last 12 months has taught me that I'm stronger than I realised I was. Obviously, I have an amazing support network, and everybody involved in the project has been spectacular. But I think the whole thing is that anything is possible if you set your mind to it. And as long as you keep pushing and keep digging and keep asking questions and walk fearlessly, people step up and will assist and help you make your dreams come true.